Before we get into products that you can purchase to bring into the garden that are microbial inoculants, I wanted to talk briefly about how we can culture our own microorganisms. The easiest example of that would be to go into a nearby forest and get a little bit of soil, bring it into the garden or the compost pile, and what you're doing there is you're bringing in a different set of microorganisms. Or if you went also to a like a pond, like a marshy area, that would be a different set of microbes too, and you can bring that to your compost pile or just kind of spread it on your garden, and that's a great way to bring in a different set of microbes. Now, we don't want to be bringing in wheelbarrows full of soil into our garden from other ecosystems, but just a little bit is a good idea. And what I want to show you today is something else that I've done a few times, just for fun mainly, is to culture my own Lactobacillus, which is a very important group of bacteria that do a lot of good things in the soil. I don't tend to do it that often because they are in the product effective microorganisms along with another couple of groups of microbes that are really important and really beneficial when you get them all together, whereas this is just mainly the Lactobacillus. But I like to do it because it's just neat to show you how you can culture your own microbes, and beneficial ones at that. And it will also be useful. It's great for kids, but it's also good if you don't want to bring in too many external inputs. But you want to do something beneficial for the garden, this is useful. So what I'll do here is I'll turn the camera down to the table here, and I will show you. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, it's a couple of weeks it takes, but there's not much work. The first step is to take a small amount of rice. I don't know, I have like a quarter cup of rice here, and I'm going to rinse it in a little bit of water. And I'm just rinsing it, getting all that nice, when you rinse rice, it gets to be a nice murky water. And I guess that's kind of going to be a substrate for microbes to grow on, and also maybe there'll be some microbes in there on the rice too. And then what I'm going to do is strain that into another container. Into this container here, and I'm just going to put it in to a maximum of 50% full. I'll do more about 25% full. So really you want the container to be 50 to 75% empty. Now what I'm going to do is loosely cover it up. Make sure some air can get in there, and leave it at room temperature for about a week, and then we'll see what happens next. It's been a week, and there's some yellow showing up in the water, which is the rice bran, and I want to kind of separate that out and just take the underlying part, and that's what I'm going to do now. I may need to strain it out. I don't have the best strainer. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding 10 times as much milk. So I guess I should have said at the beginning, if you're vegan, you're not going to want to do this. And we don't, my family, none of us drink milk anymore, so I had to go borrow some. But what you probably want to do is put it in a bigger container. What I'm going to do is just take not too much. There, yeah, that worked pretty well to strain that out. So what's going on now is we have various microorganisms in here. Some of them will be Lactobacillus. When I add the milk, it's going to, it's not going to feed the other ones, but it's going to feed primarily the Lactobacillus. I think you can use like skim milk, powdered milk, things like that, but I think real milk is best. I'm guessing cow's milk is best for this. So I'll stir that around a bit, and then I'm gonna leave this for another week or so, just with a loose lid. Here we have the finished Lactobacillus. It's only been a couple of days, but it's pretty warm out, so it happened really quickly. And you can see what happens here is there's some white stuff floating on the top here. It kind of smells like cheese, because that's lactic acid bacteria are the main microorganisms in cheese. And I don't really want that stuff. I just want to throw that into the compost bin or something like that. So what I'll do here is see if my strainer works. Just strain it out. Can you see underneath there's kind of a clear yellow liquid? That's what I'm looking for. So that's what I want to try to pour. Hardly even need the strainer. Nice. So now I just have that. And this is what I want. So what I can do here, so here's my lactobacillus. And I can mix this with equal parts molasses if I want to try to store it for quite a while and use it over a longer period of time. Now, obviously that's a lot of molasses. You don't have to use the full amount of molasses, but a little bit's nice. The other thing is you can put it into the fridge and that'll help it store even better. But the molasses just helps to give some sugar to the microbes if you want to store them. In terms of using it, what I would do is I would take my lactobacillus or my lactobacillus molasses mixture and put it into 20 parts water when I'm ready to use it. And in the past what I've done is I've actually used that 1:20 ratio, but I think what you're supposed to do is take that and further dilute it 1:60, if I'm understanding it correctly. So really you're diverting this about 1 to 1200 parts water, or I guess simple would be a little less than a teaspoon in a gallon of water. And then you can spray it onto your organic matter, your compost pile. Lactobacillus are great at getting into any anaerobic pockets and decomposing it, getting onto the ammonium and really decomposing it, controlling odors and things like that. Also just onto your mulch, onto your plants. Lactic acid bacteria create enzymes and hormones and antibacterial substances and all kinds of good stuff. They're just really important microbes. And I'll be talking about them more when we get into EM because they're ineffective microorganisms too. Incidentally, when we do mix this with water, we want to use non-chlorinated water, nice clean water. And I'll talk about that a lot when I get into compost tea, because that's really important for brewing compost tea too. So hopefully you get a chance to do this just as, if not just as an interesting experiment, but also a very, very inexpensive way to put some of the most important microorganisms out there into your garden.